From the outside, Holy Trinity looks much like any other church, with grey stone walls and a tall spire. But once you get up close, its true nature is revealed. Holy Trinity is now merely an empty shell of what was once a 13th century parish church. The interior was sadly destroyed in an act of arson, but it is here at Holy Trinity that our next story begins. Not in the church itself, but in its graveyard. Back in the 1600s, there lived a man named Richard Cabell, or Dirty Dick as he was known to his enemies. Cabell was a squire and a member of Parliament in the town of Buckfastleigh. Throughout his life, Cabell gained a horrendous reputation, infamous for his quick temper and passions for hunting, gambling and liquor. Though it's hard to find a detailed account of the exact behaviour that spurned Cabell's monstrous reputation, it was rumoured that he had also dabbled in the occult and practised black magic. There were even suggestions that he may have abused and murdered several local girls, although it should be said that there is little tangible proof of this. Regardless, Cabell's reputation became so bad that evil became synonymous with his name. It was said that he had made the darkest and most desperate deal a man could ever make. He had sold his soul to the devil. But this soulless squire would not be around to torment the town much longer, as he finally met his demise in 1677. The rumour was that Cabell's wife, Elizabeth, tried to flee from her husband by escaping out onto the moors. Sadly, she did not get far. Cabell's anger finally consumed him, and as a consequence for her betrayal, he killed his own wife. But there is a twist to this tale. After the murder, Elizabeth's faithful hound realised what had happened and turned on the squire, ripping out his throat. On the night of Cabell's burial, a group of phantom black dogs, or hellhounds, gathered at his tomb, lamenting their fallen leader, or perhaps out to retrieve his soul for their master. Either way, Cabell's ghostly figure was reported to have been seen leading a pack of these hellish hounds across the moors on the anniversary of his death. Naturally, the townsfolk of Buckfastleigh were frightened of Cabell. It seemed as though not even death could put a stop to this monstrously evil man. When it came to his interment, the corpse was buried deeply in the ground, with a large stone slab upon his head. Above ground, a tomb was built. A large stone structure, with a pyramid-shaped roof and 3 windowless walls, complete with iron railings. This became the Cabell family sepulchre, secured by lock and key. But it is not so easy to vanquish one in league with the devil. Since his burial in the 1600s, there have been reports of supernatural activity centering around the tomb, most noticeably of an unearthly red glow that emanates from within the iron bars at night. And if you ever feel brave enough to dabble in the occult, it is said that running around Cabell's tomb 7, or perhaps unlucky 13 times, then sticking your hands through the keyhole of the door, may result in a nasty bite from Cabell, or, if you're really unlucky, from the devil himself. All manner of evil creatures are thought to have gathered at this tomb over the years, and not just those of a supernatural nature, as occultists and devil worshippers are also thought to have convened there. Interestingly, the Cabell curse seems to have spread, as directly underneath the tomb, in the caves below, a fusion of stalactites and stalagmites are reported to have twisted into the form of a man, which some believe looks as though he is in 17th century dress. And the story doesn't end there, as in the years after Cabell's burial, Holy Trinity Church suffered from a constant stream of bad luck. The church was struck by lightning, a World War II bomb, and several fires. The final one in the 90s eventually gutted the structure. Of course, this could all simply be chalked up to coincidence. Though it's a fascinating story, the legend of Buckfastleigh's monstrously evil man varies, as stories often do, from source to source. Most interestingly, it seems that Cabell's reputed evilness may have largely been exaggerated, as it's hard to find any strong evidence of what he did to gain such a notorious reputation. There is actually far more information on his apparent afterlife than any of the acts that he is supposed to have committed whilst he was alive. What we do know is that during the English Civil War, Cabell, once a passionate supporter of the king, switched his allegiance to Cromwell when it looked like the outcome of the war might not be in his favour. This was a brave move in a town full of royalists, and it was perhaps this switch of allegiance that rubbed people up the wrong way, setting off the initial spiral that led to his infamy. The dramatic story of the squire murdering his wife on the moors is likely a complete fabrication too, as it appears that she actually outlived him by 14 years. The only solid fact we have is that Cabell did indeed pass away in 1677, as inscribed on his tomb. The hellhounds that often take centre stage in retellings of the story seem to have played a part in his mortal life too, as he is thought to have owned a pack of ferocious hunting dogs. Perhaps these vicious hounds made such an impression on locals that they continued to associate them with the squire, even after his death. This legend is thought to have inspired Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, author of the Sherlock Holmes novels, to base the character of Hugo Baskerville, the notorious squire and owner of Baskerville Hall, at least partially on Cabell. So, what do you think? Was the squire truly in league with the devil? Or was he just an innocent man demonized for his political allegiance? Though there are still so many questions about Cabell's life, and indeed afterlife, it seems, whatever the truth, the burnt-out shell of Holy Trinity Church and the iron-barred mausoleum in its grounds will forever be remembered for their association with Cabell, the devil, and his hellish hounds.